Hey guys, it's Miss Hoover here. So I am filming this screencast so that you can see what is going on in Coder Z. You're receiving the supplemental material because your technology at home might not allow you to work through the assignments on your own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through all of the missions so that you still learn the information. You just won't be doing it. You'll be observing it. And then you'll be able to take the assessment at the end of the week, which is what everybody's being graded on. So you're not receiving your grade based off of the completion of the missions. You're receiving the grade based off of how well you score on your Google form at the end. So learning this way will work just fine for you also. So this week we're doing Basic Navigation 1 as our lesson, and we're going to start with Mission 1. And we're going to learn how to control the speed of the robot. So it's going to take a minute to load. And I'm really sorry that, things have to work out like this. If we were in the classroom, we wouldn't be using the software at all. This is the website that the county asked us to use, so this is what we're using. If we were together in person, we'd actually be building robots and it would be so much more fun, and I'm sorry. Okay, so in this first lesson, I'm going to restart it because I've already done it. It's going to walk us through how to power up. So it's going to play with power. So first thing it wants us to do is it wants us to look at this little block right here. The drive block has a power input and it controls the speed of the robot. So right now the speed is set at 20. So we're going to click play up at the top and see what happens. Over here, we'll see a simulation of what's going on with the robot. And it looks like it's moving really, really slow. So that 20 is not a fast number. So this is telling me that the maximum number is 100. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to 100 and then try playing it again. And that's going to cause my robot to move a whole lot faster, which is what we want. Much better. So you need to know max speed for our robot is 100 miles or 100. That's our data block value. Right, so now we're going to learn how to make our robot drive backwards. So now that we know forwards is 100 at full speed, we're going to look at backwards. So let's restart. All right, so in order to change the direction for the robot, we need to make it move backwards. So if we hit play, we look, and our robot's going in the wrong direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this direction from forward to backward. And then go ahead and hit play, and that's going to fix that problem for us. So this drop-down menu changes us from forward to backward. You can toggle back and forth depending on what you need it to do. Okay, and we're going to look at one more. Okay, so this one is going to make us wait for a little bit. So this wait for block is used to control the flow of the program. So we're going to drive forward at a speed of 100. The wait for block tells that how long are you going to be moving forward for, and that's measured in milliseconds. So 2,000 milliseconds is the same as 2 seconds. So this means that the robot is going to drive forward for 2 seconds and then do what the next block says. Okay, so like that just explained, 1 second is 1,000 milliseconds. The drive block will stop the robot because the power is set to 0, so that means the motors are not going to run. So let's go ahead and start it and see what happens. So it looks like the robot isn't moving forward quite long enough, and then it's stopping. So what I need to do is I need to make this a little bit longer. So I'm going to change this to 2.5 seconds or 2,500 milliseconds. And then another way to make my robot go backwards, I could change this drop down from forward to backward, or what I could do is I can make this number negative. Okay, now that I've got my changes all made, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and it's going to reset the code, and it's going to test out what we did. So hopefully this will work out for us by extending the wait time and making the robot move backwards once it's done that. And look, we've gotten all the little batteries and we're meeting our target. So moving on to our next activity. Okay, what we're going to do here is now we're going to make the robot move forward and backward, but this time it's not giving us a program. So we've got to think, what order do we need these to go in? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to click it in, and we want our robot to move backwards at a speed of 100. And remember, I have two ways. I can make this negative or I can change this to backward. I want to wait. I'm going to wait for 3 seconds or 3,000 milliseconds. And then I'm going to move forward at full speed. And remember, full speed is 100. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a shot, clicking all those together. Moving backwards and now moving forward. And I've collected all the little batteries and I've met the objective. Okay, next we're going to work on turning. So there are two ways you can turn using the robot. One is called a point turn. The other is called a pivot turn. So we're going to be working on point turns. Okay, and the way I'm going to do that is work on a point turn. So a point turn is a turn that keeps the center of the robot stationary or in place as the wheels turn in opposite directions. So we're going to set up a drive block with a power of 15, so we don't want it to move too fast. And this time we're going to add a steering value, and it will make the robot turn differently depending on what the steering value is. So to do a right turn, we need the steering value to be positive 100. And let's run this code and see what it looks like. So it turned too much. So that means I need to change. So to make a 90-degree turn to the right, we need our drive power to be 15, which it is. And it should be between 1.5 and 2 seconds. So this here, we're at 2.3 seconds. I think I'm going to try something in between. I'm going to do 1.7 seconds or 1,700 milliseconds. Let's go ahead and give that a try and see if that works for us. So let's reset and run the simulation. And look at that. It turned exactly as we needed it to, and it made the turn perfectly. So positive steering value 100, wait for 1700 milliseconds to go to the right. So to go to the left, we need to do something a little bit different. So that's what we'll do next. Okay, so now we're going to work on making a left point turn. And in order to do that, the code from last time, it saved it for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this in some way. So what we need to do, if we do it this way, it's going to turn to the right, which we know is wrong. We don't want those little red gems. We want the green ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the steering value, and just like we would make it negative to go backwards, we're going to make this negative to go left. So I'm going to change that to negative 100. Let's give that a shot and rerun. Okay, so remember, turning to the right is going to be a positive number, and turning to the left is going to be a negative number. Okay, so now we're going to apply this point turn knowledge, and we're going to cause our robot to go forward and then turn. So it wants us to park our robots in between these little blocks. So we're going to do just that. Okay, so let's run it first and see what the code they gave us does. Okay, so this is running into the blocks there, and that's not good. So there's a nice spot right next to it. We're trying to get to the target, so we need to tweak this code just a little bit to get us what we need. So let's change our wait time. It's recommending 4 seconds, so let's go ahead and make that 4 seconds and give it a run and see what happens now. So what this code is making us do is going forward for 4 seconds, then it's executing a right turn, and then moving forward. And it looks like that worked for us. So parking to the right, we need to go forward. Whenever you're coding, you might need to mess around with the wait times to get it exactly where you need it to be, and that's okay. So now that we've parked to the right, let's try parking to the left. So remember, to differentiate between a right turn and a left turn, we need to make our value negative. To turn right, it's positive. To turn left, negative. Okay. So we're going to restart. So we're going to code our robot to turn into the parking space. So we need to add some blocks. Okay, and the way we're going to get the blocks is we're going to come over here into the block library and get what we need. Okay, so I'm going to grab a control block and I'm going to grab a wait for. I'm going to stick that here. So here we're going forward for 4 seconds, and then we need to turn. So we need to slow down the motors a little bit, and we want to turn to the left, which would be a negative speed. And we're going to do that for 1.7 seconds or 1,700 milliseconds. And let's give that a go and see what happens. Oh, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. So let's go ahead and add something else. So I'm going forward for 4 seconds, turning right, but I never told it to stop turning right. So what I need to do is I'm going to grab another motor control here. Once I've turned left, this way guy's turning left. Once I turn left for 1.7 seconds, I need to go forward again. So by adding this additional block, I'm going to make it move forward into the target. So let's see what that does. And we met our objective. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to practice everything we've learned. We're going to use the drive blocks and the wait blocks to get our robot into the parking spot. All right, and this is giving me a little bit of information on the drive block. We need to set the steering value also, so we're going to do that by clicking the little gearbox. Okay, and if you get stuck, they have a little tip button up at the top. So first thing I need to do is I need to come over here to my block library, and I need to get a motor block out because I want my robot to move. But it looks like my robot is facing backwards. So what I need to do is I want this robot to go backwards at full speed until we get to this point. So I'm going to wait. So I need to know how long I'm going to drive for. And this looks kind of longer. So I'm going to change this from 1 second to 2 seconds. Then once I've gone this direction for 2 seconds, I want to turn to the right. So in order to turn to the right, I need a drive block. And when we're turning, we want to turn slow. So I'm going to change that to 15. And remember, we need to set steering. So that little hint told me to get the gearbox, and I'm going to get my steering. And I want my steering value to be 100, right? But here's the thing that's difficult. This robot's facing backwards. So I know that if I wanted to make a right turn, I would have positive, but since I'm facing backwards, it's opposite. So I need this to be negative, or I can make this backward. So I'm just going to make it backward to make it a little bit easier. Okay. Then once I move backward, I'm going to move my block. Well, I need to know how long to turn my right angle for. So we need to set our right angle, which in the previous lesson we figured out was 1.7. I'm going to change that. And now I'm going to add another drive block to go forward till we get to the target. So let's try that out and see what happens. So hopefully, since the robot's backwards, it'll move backwards for 2 seconds, turn, and then move forward into the target. Great, and we've met our objective. And so now we've completed all of our objectives. Hopefully this helps you out. If you need to, you can view this multiple times, take notes as you watch it, and you can use this information when you go to do your Google quiz. Okay, next week we're going to be learning basic navigation too. So if you do not have available technology next week, I'll make sure to make another video for you then as well. All right, good luck.